Good morning and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. We are terribly late this morning. It's far from our usual time, but yeah, every time I'm late, guys, it's oftentimes because of things that are beyond my control. But we'll get there. We'll get there. One day, all this will be gone. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope everything is all right with you. I hope you had a wonderful night. How is your Saturday morning? Our football is back, and we are here to discuss football because there's so much going to happen during the course of the weekend from the Spanish La Liga, from the Premier League. Both the Premier League and the Spanish La Liga did kick off last night. Villarreal were up in action, I think, against Rio Oviedo. They did win that game. Yes, LFC, how are you? Good morning. It's a pleasure to see you around. I hope you're doing okay. Hope everything is well for you. Otherwise, what are your sentiments about last night's game? Because it was a very interesting game in its own measure. Not the most entertaining that you would have, but I mean, it did live to the expectation of a Premier League opener like we would have it. So I do not think it does get any better than that when it comes to an opening day of game. Yeah, it had to be that way for Liverpool fans and maybe Bournemouth fans. It's the first game of the season. It's those emotions are bound to happen. For me, I think as good as the game was, it had a very unfortunate scenes to it when Antoine Semenyo was racially abused or discriminated. It's never a good sign. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight says, "Hi everyone, happy Saturday." Happy Saturday to you too, Daniel. Where are you joining us from this beautiful morning, Daniel? And how are you doing? How are you doing? Daniel Berry Sports, any particular team you pay allegiance to? Any particular team? Just, having our audience tested to make sure everything checks out pretty well. Guys, apologies. Last night we had an internet glitch that cost us a couple of minutes in the course of our broadcast, but we eventually managed to see it out. So thank you so much to all those that were part of last night's broadcast. It was a pleasure to see you as we reviewed that action from Anfield. We're going to, digest it a little more and then get into the depth of the Premier League games that are going to be coming later today. Of course, the early kickoff comes at 2:30 p.m. between Aston Villa and Newcastle. Very, very beautiful game to anticipate. But like LFC put it, the first games of the season are usually those kind of nervy games. Oftentimes you're not sure what to expect. As much as you may have seen your team prepare for the new season, you always not sure are your new players going to click, who is the manager going to choose. Sometimes even when you get that right, that you know who the manager is going to go with in one position, again you're not sure because you know that the players had been away. They are yet to pick that momentum. So the first game of the season, or the first few games of the season, come with all those sorts of emotions that you'd expect both for a fan, for a manager, for the players, and everybody that does appreciate the game as much as we do. So, but yesterday Liverpool were able to literally get away with it. They literally got away with it after cruising to a 4-2 victory against FC Bournemouth. And I think the result in itself does not paint the perfect picture of what did transpire on the pitch. If somebody reads you just the result, it's easy to think that all Liverpool were quite dominant and they are the reigning champions and they are back to defend their accolade. But I think that was far from the story. Hi, Pedri. Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you back. Guys, I need you guys to vote on. I don't know if it should be a vote, but I need you guys to help me decide what's the perfect time for us to start our morning broadcast on Saturday. The perfect time, the time that you think will suit us all? Saji Vanin, hi. I don't know what language you typed in, but good morning. I hope you're doing well. Where are you joining us from this beautiful morning? LFC, do you think Mr. Tribe is... Tell me, what are you trying to insinuate with the insistence on that question? But anyways, away from that. So, but I don't know. I think there must be a way to create a poll, right? There must be a way to create a poll. Because I want you guys to decide what time you think is most sufficient for us to start our morning Saturday broadcast. Saji Vanin is from Russia. Okay, that's good to know. But yeah, okay. Back to the context of the Liverpool game. 11 a.m. Ugandan time is the best. Wow. That means that's about 10 a.m. Spanish time. That means that's about 10 a.m. South African time. That means it's about 1 p.m. Indian time. Okay. I think eventually we'll find a middle ground. But that's Pedro's suggestion. I'll wait for more suggestions, both from this forum and other forums. Really. So the game in itself. Where do we start? Do we start with the result? The result, I've told you, it was a 4-2 victory for Liverpool. Eventually, at 3 points. It doesn't get any better than that for the reigning champions to start off with the victory. But so many positives to take away from the game. Some underwhelming performances from some of the star players. 9 a.m. in the UK time. Yes, yeah, that will be 9 a.m. in UK time. Okay, we'll eventually find our middle ground. So that we are oftentimes not late for different audiences, but we will see. Then, okay. Then the other thing, underwhelming performances. I think Mo Salah was underwhelming, albeit he scored. But you see, when you play like Mo Salah, and I remember him talking about this, that he had gotten it from Arsene Wenger, who told him that, you see, for you to have a good game, you do not have to be good the entire time. You just have to choose your moment. And I think he chose his moment, and he shone, scoring that goal with the weaker foot, which was just the icing on the cake. But the game in itself, like LFC put it, it was a bit of a nervy start. Liverpool looked sharp, of course. A few characters in there. Hugo Tike being the most sharp player, I think, on the pitch yesterday. I think he was really, really intentional to show Liverpool fans, to endear himself to the Liverpool fans. I thought physically he dealt with the physical attributes of the game really, really well. He competed well in the physical aspects of the game. When it came to running, he was really good. When it came to sort of holding up play and involving other players in play, he did that really well. Every time he received maybe a high ball, a long ball, with his back first towards the opponent's goal, he did that hold up play a bit well, distributing the ball to, Mo Salah or sideways. It was Cody Gakpo and whoever or in midfield there with the McAllisters and Dominic Szoboszlai. So I thought he did that really, really well. And it was no surprise that it was him that got off the mark with McAllister providing that assist in the 37 minutes to score his first Premier League goal. Of course, it's his second official goal in a Liverpool shirt in a competitive game. The first having come over last weekend when they lost to Crystal Palace 3-2 on penalties that preceded a 2-2 draw in the Community Shield. So very beautiful game of football. Then, of course, early into the second half, Cody Gakpo, Hugo Tike once again turned provider when he made the assist for Cody Gakpo, who I thought was sort of given an easy pass. Now, of course, that's not to take away any credit from Cody Gakpo, but the way Bournemouth defended in that particular moment, leading to that goal, I thought was very shambolic. It was very clumsy. Literally, you had about 3 defenders almost ball watching, really, which did not look pretty. One bit. So, but that was it. That it was what it was, and they did score. Then now, of course, the Liverpool fans were once again electric. You Never Walk Alone. They sang that quite loudly and noisily. In the 20th minute, they did pay their tribute to their fallen soldier in Diego Jota and his brother Andre Silva. May their souls rest in peace. Again, Liverpool were bound to face those emotions. They did play through those emotions. Okay, we seem to have a comment from Florian Vitz Enjoyer. Says, hello, sir. It's now 2:35 a.m. How are you? Wow. Florian, where are you joining us from? Why it is 2:35 a.m.? Where are you joining us from? Are you in the USA, or are you from Philippines? Or where exactly is that? But thank you for joining us, and I hope you do stay with us for the great length of time, and you can like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel as well. Florian, yesterday wasn't very enjoyable. That's true. Florian Vitt says, Enjoyer says he's from the USA. Good. What state in the USA are you joining us from? We do have a friend called Snow. Snow LFC is from Oklahoma. We have another member from Chicago. I forget their name. We do have Tristan. He's currently in South Africa, Cape Town, but he's originally from New York, USA. So thank you so much, Team USA. I know these broadcasts tend to come very late in the night for you, but for those of you that do spare the time to be with us, we do appreciate you a great deal. So, again, like I was saying, the game in itself was bound to have those emotions for both Liverpool players, for the Liverpool fans, and knowing it's the first official game of the season, they're at home, the tribute to Diego Jota, and I think those emotions are going to continue throughout the season. Maybe the chance may not be as they were yesterday, or maybe it's not going to be every game in the season that they get to pay tribute in the 20th minute, but I think you constantly have a section of fans, maybe holding a banner, holding a mural, holding, a Diego Jota shirt, and things like that. Maestro, he still needs to adjust to the speed of the Premier League. I think that I can agree with you, maybe even to the physicality of it and things like that. But given his talent, I have no reason to tell me otherwise that he won't fit into the Premier League. You say you're from Chicago, okay, that's good to know. Unfortunately, the few things, the very little things I know about Chicago are oftentimes not pretty. I always hear when I hear Chicago, usually it comes in line with high crime, gun violence, and things like that. But I hope you stay in the more same neighborhoods of Chicago, and things like that, and that you're safe. So, Hugo Tike, yesterday, I did say that maybe I would have given my man of the match accolade to Federico Chiesa, but upon review, I think I'll give I'm torn between Antoine Semenyo, who Pedri gave it to. Credit to you, Pedri, for that. But I think between Hugo Tike and Antoine Semenyo, I think those two were deserving of the man of the match accolade. Yeah, not the best city, Lolo. Okay, I must head to Betsa. Hope you have a good one. Thank you so much, Florian Vitz, but I hope you subscribe to the channel before you sign out. It's been a pleasure having you around, and thank you so much for your submission or in part of today's debate or discussion at this beautiful Saturday morning. For me, I'm from Kampala, Uganda, so it's about 10:40 a.m. East African time. Anyways, so I think because Liverpool won, I'll give the accolade to Hugo Ekitike. On his debut, his squad provide an assist. That's as good as the debut you would ask for, but also take nothing away from Antoine Semenyo after being racially abused by I don't know if it was a whole section of Liverpool fans or just one Liverpool fan, because the one I particularly saw was one who appeared to be a gentleman in a wheelchair. Is the one that I saw the most. When I watched that, I remember, I think it was somewhere on the touchline taking a throw in, and there was a bit of exchange, and when it came out to be racial abuse, I remember thinking to myself, we know these things happen. But after all the sensitization that has been done around the game, and more so coming from a fan that is within the stadium. I mean, I find that very unbecoming of his character. And of course, there are reports that there have been suggestions that he should be banned from all grounds. And I mean, there is no room for racism in the sport. I mean, this is a sport that we get to enjoy play. I mean, how do you get to be racially abusive to Antoine Semenyo when you have Jeremy Frimpong in your player? You know, he's a black player or a dark skinned colored player. When you've had Sadio Mane in your team, when you have Ibrahim Konate and all the others that have played there before, you did play there with Kolo Toure, you know, at some point. You did have Mario Balotelli. You had Benteke. I mean, for a club that has that kind of history, I mean, why would you have a fan being racially abusive to an opponent fan in this day and age? So I really did not understand that, and I hope that gentleman gets the penalty he deserves for being racially abusive to Antoine Semenyo. And all credit to Antoine Semenyo taking the situation the manner in which he took it, because I mean, I think while it was bad, I think he took heart to it, and he had a very good game and scored a brace, you know, on the evening. So credit all goes to him. And you say, okay. Do you enjoy Mr. Tribe's presence and contribution on a daily basis? I don't know if Florian is still with us to be able to answer that. Yeah, it was only one Liverpool fan in the wheelchair. Okay, thanks for the clarification, Pedri. Aviju Van Donkey, Alexis McDonaldista. Anyways, so Antoine Semenyo getting that brace in the 64th minute and the 76th minute to cancel out, Liverpool's 2-0 lead. David Brooks providing the assist for one of those goals, and then Federico Chiesa coming on in the second half. I think he came on around the 82nd minute, and he scored a very, very beautiful goal that gave Liverpool the 3-2 lead at the time, with just a couple of minutes to spare. And then Mo Salah, of course, in the 94th minute, of course, it was 6 minutes of added time, putting the icing on the cake to wrap it up, which was really, really brilliant. Eat enough food today, because tomorrow you may not be ready of what will happen to you tomorrow, sir. That's my friend Gregory. Gregory is a Manchester United fan, in case you're wondering. Gregory is a fellow Ugandan. He's a Manchester United fan. But it's good to have you back on the broadcast, Gregory. Hugo Tike Taka. So yeah, brilliant performance from him as a debutant. Gregory well knows that I'm an Arsenal fan, and because Man United are taking on Arsenal on Sunday, that's why he's advising that I eat enough food, because on Sunday I may not have the appetite. But anyways, we will see. We will see who will have to eat the humble pie at the end of the day. I think was it Pedri or somebody else? But I've received a couple of predictions as per our forum, suggesting that it will end in a draw. One said it will be a 1-1 draw. Another suggested it will be a 2-2 draw, which doesn't really differ much from my personal opinion. Anyways, let's go away. In terms of the underwhelming performances, I think Florian Wirtz had an underwhelming performance. Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahim Konate, they did not have the best days in office. Liverpool's midfield looks, especially the second half, did not look too good. I think particularly because they lacked the absence of a sort of a more central midfielder, a more natural defensive midfielder, maybe one that is like a Ryan Gravenberch or even a notch higher. They did lack that. Then also, I think when you looked at their bench yesterday, you must have come to a conclusion that I've long held, that Liverpool need some bit of more signings, at least a forward player, a centre back, and a central midfielder. That's where my priority would be. And let's just wait and see whether Liverpool can sort of try and push again to try and sign Alexander Isak in the coming days of the transfer window. Remember, next weekend they are going to be in action. I think it will be on Monday. I stand to be corrected, but it should be. I think it will be on Monday when they take on Newcastle United away to St James's Park. That's their next engagement for Liverpool. So then, so yeah, beautiful game of football there. So anyways, we'll leave that at that in regards to Liverpool as well as Bournemouth, but I hope you guys did enjoy that one. So quickly, let's get into other fixtures. Of course, Aston Villa are going to be up against Newcastle at 2:30 p.m. East African time. Do you think Baleba deal is totally off, bro? I mean, I can never say never because the transfer window can always surprise you. But from the look of things, yesterday we had the very reliable David Austin reporting that Manchester United will not be making a bid for Carlos Baleba. We've had it from multiple sources that Brighton have made it clear to Manchester United that Baleba is not for sale, at least this summer. I think they will want to keep him for another year before they look to sell him. Then also, while Baleba would appreciate a move to Manchester United, he is not desperate to leave Brighton and Hove Albion because he's happy there. He's only 21 years of age, and I believe another season at the level of Brighton also gives him a more bit of grit and maturity for him to eventually make the move to Manchester United. However, when you're a team like Manchester United and wait it out for signing like Carlos Baleba, you also stand the risk of losing him in the future to other opponents because I mean, we can never know what the demands of other teams could be going into maybe next summer or going into January. So you could risk losing him on that. So take an example. Pedro, you're saying, according to Fabrizio Romano, I particularly quoted David Austin because for me that was the source. So you risk losing him to maybe a team like Liverpool. They could be in for a central midfielder. It could be Barcelona that come calling. It could be Bayern Munich that come calling. We know that Bayern Munich have lost João Palhinha. They've sent him out on loan to Tottenham Hotspur, I think, with an option to buy. While they still have Leon Goretzka and Joshua Kimmich and Pavlovic, you can always think that there's room for another body in there. So you never know. So you stand the risk of losing that kind of player, the player of that quality, to any other opponent, and then it becomes, a bit of a contest. You never know. Chelsea can come calling, and we know how Chelsea sort of deal with the transfer window or the market. So that's the risk you stand. But I mean, at least Man United showed intent. For me, what then becomes the question for Manchester United, does that then disqualify their need for a central midfielder? Do they go in the market and try to find another player that suits that bit of profile, or do they wait it out? I mean, particularly I've seen this with Arsenal when they miss out on a player and wait it out until the following summer to try and get him. You remember what happened with Benjamin Sesko? Eventually, they did not able to get him. Then you remember Liverpool themselves when they missed out on Romeo Lavia and Moises Caicedo in the summer of 2023. They waited it out and until the following summer of 2024 when they tried to sign Martin Zubimendi. Again, they failed to get Martin Zubimendi and sort of chose to look inwards, and they looked at Wataru Endo and Ryan Gravenberch to take them through the season, which I think they did decently well. So it remains to be seen what Liverpool will do. So once you choose to wait it out, you never know who you eventually could lose the player to, or whether you can win them. But that's how I do view that. Pedri, okay, somebody says my mom. Somebody's called my mom. Hi, my mom. How are you doing? A good morning to you. Gregory says, how about the goalkeeping area? Do you think Onana will stay as Amorim's first choice goalkeeper? Now, I think the thing about Onana, of course, Manchester United would have loved to move him on and get a more decent goalkeeper. In any case, they've been linked with all sorts of goalkeepers, especially very good goalkeepers, I must say. Gianluigi Donnarumma, they've been linked with a potential move for Emi Martinez. In fact, they did send out a loan offer to Aston Villa that I think with an obligation to buy, which was turned down by Aston Villa. They've been linked with a move for Casenecchi, the Atalanta goalkeeper, 24-year-old Italian goalkeeper there. At some point, they were being linked with a move for Andre Lunin, Real Madrid's second choice goalkeeper. Then there's another goalkeeper, I think he's called Sene something. I forget the exact name, but they've been linked with a whole bunch of goalkeepers. Now, at the start of the window, AC Monaco made inquiries about the availability of Andre Onana, but I think they were off-put by Manchester United's asking price. So, and yet, from what it appears to be, I think Andre Onana's contract seems to suggest that for as long as he's fit, he has to play. You know, players tend to have those contracts where the contract says for as long as this player is fit, they have to play, or else the club, has to pay him these bonuses for not playing him and things like that. So I think for now, from the look of things, he will continue to be Ruben Amorim's goalkeeper, number one goalkeeper, because the options they do have as backup options in Altai Baindia and Tom Heaton are not any better than Andre Onana. In any case, Andre Onana is much better than them. Then two, I think for me particularly, Man United need to fix more their midfield and then find the right combination in defense to help Andre Onana. Of course, he is a man with his own errors, but oftentimes you feel that because Manchester United's midfield and defense get penetrated easily, it oftentimes leaves him vulnerable. There are moments in which you think Andre Onana should have done better. There are games, I'm sure Manchester United fans have walked away and thinking, wow, what a goalkeeper we have in Andre Onana. Then when it comes to being a ball-playing goalkeeper, I think he's one of the very best that there is in Europe. So when you assess it in that context, I think one, he's going to stay because there's not much interest for him at the moment, unless something comes up late within the transfer window, which then may force Manchester United into a rush signing, because when they come for your player in the very late in the window and then you okay that move, you also risk it's oftentimes a risk, because usually clubs say, you remember when Real Madrid wanted to sign David De Gea, and you remember that scenario, that scandal, that which according to some sources they said that Manchester United intentionally delayed to send the paperwork to sort of so that the paperwork reached after the deadline, and then David De Gea could not join Real Madrid. You remember that saga? So maybe somebody comes up late in the window and they make an offer for Andre Onana. That cannot be ruled out, but at the moment, it's increasingly unlikely that he will leave the club, because he is happy at Manchester United in any case. So we'll just have to wait and see. Yes, unless they sign Gianluigi Donnarumma, Cavalier is going to be the number one goalkeeper, I think, for PSG. Now, Gianluigi Donnarumma, again, a host of clubs seem to be interested in his services, apart from Chelsea. At some point, Real Madrid were linked with the potential move for Donnarumma as a long-term replacement for Thibaut Courtois. Then Manchester City in recent days, because Galatasaray are interested in signing Ederson Morales, and they're serious in that pursuit. They did open a club talks with Manchester City. Manchester City are open to a sell if the valuation is met, and then they can make the switch to go for Gianluigi Donnarumma. Stefan Ortega is still expected to leave Manchester City in this transfer window, although no big offers have yet to come in for him. Remember, Manchester City did bring in also, they brought in two goalkeepers. One from the third choice goalkeeper from Chelsea. I don't know, I constantly forget his name. But also, they brought in James Trafford, their former goalkeeper, who they sold to Burnley in 2023. And they bought him back for about £31 million. So, in that sort of case, yes, Pedro, I'm going to read every single comment. Okay, I've responded to that. Yes, I've read the comment. I think if it's about Andre Onana, no, if it's about Gianluigi Donnarumma, I've read that. What do Amadou Onana, Andre Onana have in common? Maybe Andre. Oh, Amadou Onana. Maybe they're both dark-skinned players. One is from Belgium, another is from Cameroon. That's the only, commonality that I can draw out. There are comments above. Maybe I've read enough. I've read all of them. I read that Virgil Van Maguire, and I think I read that. Carlos Bareba, we responded to that. He said, according to Fabrizio Romano, and I responded to that by saying that My source for that one particularly had been David Austin of The Athletic. Then the comments from my mom, and yeah, the common thing is that they both have Onana surname. Okay, okay. Oh, my bad, my bad. I did not notice that. I remember. I think it was during the Euros. I think the Euros 2024 when Amadou Onana was correcting reporters that he's not Andre Onana. Some people were calling him Andre, and he said, "No, I'm not Andre. I'm Amadou Onana." And by the way, very very good with his language. I do not know what language they speak in Belgium, but the way he was switching from his Belgium local language to English was really, really one to admire. Brighton are demanding £115 million for Carlos Baleba. Yes, that's according to some reports. That's true. Some sources say £100 million. Other sources will say 120. But for now, what remains constant is that they are not inclined to sell in this very, very transfer window. Then quickly, Brighton are going to be up against Fulham. Now, the game between Aston Villa and Newcastle. Guys, let's talk about that. Very, very beautiful game to anticipate. Usually, the home team tends to win this one, although I think it was last season but one, when Newcastle went to Villa Park and beat them by 3-1. So, again, but Newcastle looked very, very symbolic during preseason. I do not seem to remember them winning a game during preseason. I do not remember. They lost to Celtic 4-0. They lost to Arsenal by 3-2. They lost to the K-League 11 over there in I think South Korea by 1-0. Tottenham Hotspurs, it was a 2-2 draw. Espanyol, Tottenham was a 1-1 draw. Espanyol was a 2-2 draw, and then they lost to Atletico de Madrid by 2-0. So they've not really looked pretty in the summer. Also, they've struggled to bring in players. Yes, they've brought in some players. They brought in Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa for about £39 million plus £5 million in expected add-ons. They brought in Anthony Elanga from Nottingham Forest for a total of about £53 million. Then they brought in the goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale from Southampton on a season-long loan with an obligation to buy, to make that more permanent. Then who else? I think those have so far been some of their signings. They also brought in Malik Theo, the defender. So 4 players they've been able to bring in, but again in the attacking ranks, they're going to make a move for Yohan Wissa after Brentford secured a deal for Dango Ouattara, which I believe was a very, very expensive deal. It's a total of about £42 million. And I was looking at that deal and I'm saying, Andre Onana, and I was saying Dango Ouattara has not even been a main starter in that team. Why suddenly how are Bournemouth able to negotiate that kind of a significant transfer fee for a player that has not been even a main starter, And I look at that in sheer comparison with the struggles of some of the big teams when it comes to selling players. Pedri does say it's going to be a 3-1 for Aston Villa. Then he predicts a 4-0 victory for Tottenham Hotspur against Burnley, while he thinks West Ham United will be beat up against Sunderland by 2-0. Thank you so much, Pedri, for those predictions. So my guess is that Aston Villa win this one, maybe by 3-1. Yeah, that's my feeling. Brighton, Fulham, of course. Sorry, a little bit back to Aston Villa. Aston Villa still have their core team, Meanwhile, Aston Villa could resign Marco Asensio because his deal to Fenerbahce did not go through. I do not know what happened, but Aston Villa could resign, Marco Asensio. But you do expect that setup, including Emi Martinez, Pau Torres, John McGinn, who has equally been a target for Newcastle, the captain, Fabian Schär, Lucas Digne. You do expect those players to be in there. Morgan Rogers, Leon Bailey is a target for AC Roma, although their proposal is an initial loan deal. Let's wait upon that and see. Then, of course, Ollie Watkins. Those are some of the players that you do expect in that Aston Villa lineup that should be giving Unai Emery the much needed opening day victory that he does need to get in as far as today's engagement is concerned. Then on the side of Newcastle, I mean, what should we expect on the side of Newcastle when it comes to a probable lineup? So yes, Ezri Kosa alongside Cortez, Matty Cash or Ian Matson, Yuri Tillemans, Bobaka Kamara or Amadou Onana in that double pivot. But I think when you're playing against a team like Newcastle, I think it does help you to be a little more conservative. If Amadou Onana is available, you play him alongside Bobaka Kamara, and then you have Yuri Tillemans play ahead of them as sort of your de facto number 10. Then Neil Malin, John McGinn, or Leon Bailey, and then Oli Watkins. That sort of setup. I mean, Aston Villa also have a forgotten player called Emiliano Buendia. Emiliano Buendia. You remember they signed him from Norwich City. Do you think Morgan Rogers will start today's game? I do not know, but if he's fit, for me, it should be a no-brainer. For as long as Morgan Rogers is fit, for me, it should be a no-brainer. So it will depend if he's fit. Then on the side of Newcastle, again, you expect Nick Pope in goal, Lewis Hall, Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Tino Livramento at right back. You do expect Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, and Joelinton in that midfield. Then you do expect Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon, and Anthony Elanga to start because Alexander Isak is out on strike, so they're going to miss that. And remember, they lost Callum Wilson. He left as a free agent and has since joined West Ham. West Ham, what on God's screen are they thinking? Trying to replace Mikel Antonio, signing Callum Wilson? I mean, I hope it does work out for them, but I didn't think it was a good signing for West Ham to begin with. But so yeah, so I do not think Newcastle. Maybe if they decide to play William Osula in that role, we'll wait and see. Then quickly, which other game should we have our big insights on? Maybe we'll look at Manchester City. But for Brighton versus Fulham, I'm going for a 1-1 draw in that one. Sunderland versus West Ham, I'm going for a 2-2 draw. Can you find the hidden letter? Can I find the hidden letter? A, you mean the letter A in the word can? Then Tottenham Hotspurs up against Burnley. Nice one, Pedri. Thank you for bringing the humor to the conversation. Tottenham Hotspurs up against Burnley. I mean, Tottenham Hotspurs should have no excuse to go up to be at home and beat up against Scott Parker's side. As much as it's the opening day of the opening game of the season, they must show intent that they are going to be better than they were last season. They must give their fans something to begin with. I think a victory would very well do well for Thomas Frank. His first Premier League game of the season, you know. Excuse me. Then Wolverhampton Wanderers up against Manchester City. Again, I particularly for that game, I'm waiting to see how Pep Guardiola assembles his team. What pick does he go with? Does he start James Trafford, or is it going to be Stefan Ortega or Ederson Morales? Then that back four is, are we going to see Kushanov alongside Ruben Diaz, or is it going to be Joshko Vardiol? Is it going to be Manela Kanji or John Stones? Is it going to be Nathan Ake? Matthias Nunes is expected at right back. Ryan Atnori, I think, will start at left back. Then the midfield, Dejan Enders, who does he start along with? Is it going to be Mateo Kovacic or Ilkay Gundogan? Is it going to be Bernardo Silva? Is it going to be who else? Anyway, then Phil Foden, does he get to play? Of course, Omar Mamouche and Brad Erling Haaland, those ones are expected, in my opinion, to start. Ryan Cherki, does he start? Jeremy Doku, does he start? Or Nico Gonzalez in that midfield? You know, of course, Phillips, Calvin Phillips is expected to leave the club. You know, Savinho is a target for Tottenham Hotspurs. I think yesterday I was reading some reports that Manchester City had turned down a proposal worth about 70 million euros for Semenyo. I don't know. For some reason, I'm not inclined to believe that. Reason being, I mean, Danny Levy doesn't oftentimes open his check that big, you know. It often doesn't open his checkbook that big. You say Jürgen Strand-Larsen, yes, now a permanent player at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Jose Sa in goal, Matt Doherty, Emmanuel Agdo, Totti Gomez, you know, that midfield. Who should we expect? Wolves are a bit of an unknown quantity. That's why I believe they will struggle this season. But they do have a good manager in. They do have a good manager in Vita Pereira. Now, according to some sources, Ederson has a knock, Semenyo has a knock, Joshko Vardiol a knock, Phil Foden has an ankle injury. Rodri, of course, he has that injury setback on his anterior cruciate ligament. Rodrigo Cascante, or as some people, as we often refer to him, Rodri. Then Claudio Echeverri, Mateo Kovacic with the calf issue, Calvin Phillips, unless those can pass late fitness tests, and then they are passed for that game. So I do expect Manchester City to go to Molineux, a stadium where they oftentimes struggle, by the way, but to make a 2-1 victory today. Ryan Akinori has left, and then they've lost Matthias Cunha, who I thought were some of their best, arguably their very best players last season. So Matthias Cunha being their lead goal scorer last season, they've lost that one. I think that's a huge loss for them. Ryan Akinori is another big loss for them, really. So yeah, you also mentioned Martin Odegaard in between there. I do not know why you introduced him to the conversation, but we will see. Then quickly, let's go to the Spanish La Liga because Mallorca are going to be up against Barcelona. That will come at 8:30 p.m. Deportivo Alves will be up against Levante at 10:30 p.m. as well as Valencia up against Real Sociedad. Yes, I did mention about Erling Haaland. Thank you, Pedri. So Barcelona, Mallorca, what lineup should we expect on the side of Barcelona? I mean, Robert Lewandowski could miss this one through an injury scare, based on some reports I was reading. I do not know, but it could be a miss for this one. Will you watch Barcelona? I have all intention, for all intents and purposes, I would want to watch that game. It's going to coincide. I think it's going to coincide with that of Manchester City, especially for the second half. But I'll make sure I, catch a glimpse of that Barcelona game. Pedri. Fried Chicken says hello. Hi, Fried Chicken. Some Fried Chicken. Good to have you. Hello, it's me, Rip Sukuna. Oh, Rip Sukuna, you changed your name to Fried Chicken. Okay. Okay. Good to have you back, mate, on the channel. But yeah, how do we expect Barcelona to set up? Joan Garcia in goal. Pau Kubasi. By the way, Pedri, remind me, have Barcelona been able to register all their new players? In Marcus Rashford, Joan Garcia, have they been able to register them with La Liga? We could be here anticipating that he does that, and then somehow they don't. So you say Joan Garcia, Eric Garcia, Ronald Araujo, Pau Kubasi, and Alejandro Balde, Pedri, De Jong, in a double pivot, Fermin Lopez, number 10, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, and Robert Lewandowski. Oh, no, sorry. You mean Rafinha left wing and right wing for Yamal, and then Ferran Torres for the striker. Okay, I mean that's not far from it. If I had to make any changes, maybe I would start Dani Olmo in that number 10 role. But one too many times I've seen him just come off the bench. But maybe Dani Olmo. I do not think Marcus Rashford is going to start this game for his debut. But yeah, Lewandowski has a leg injury. Marc-Andre ter Stegen, we know he had that surgery on his back. Then you say, oh, we are talking about Barcelona. Yes, we are talking about Barcelona at the moment. So my prediction is that Barcelona win this game by 3-0. against Rayo Mallorca. I feel that I feel that Barcelona are just going to be too good for Mallorca, even though they're going to be away from home. But let's wait and see. And then quickly, my friend is in Barcelona. Okay, your friend is in Barcelona. Who is your friend? We do have on the broadcast Pedri, who is a Barcelona fan. He's a Barcelona fan. Olmo isn't fully fit because he experienced uncomfort in training. He is available, but we shouldn't take risks. Yeah. You do not want to take any risks, especially in the first game of the season or the first few games of the season, really. Especially when you have potent options in a player like Firmino Lopez. And I'm sure Barcelona can always pull out something out of their sleeves when it comes to calling out a youngster from the academy who will surprise the entire world with a brilliant performance if it does come to that. Fried chicken, my friend, is from Spain. His name is Marcus. Okay, greetings to your friend Marcus. I hope he's a Barcelona fan. I invite him to subscribe to the channel and join the community. Pedro is always here chatting to us about Barcelona, giving us more insights and bringing us the latest about Barcelona. So thank you so much, Pedro, for being a very, very good contributor. Oh, fried chicken. Oh, you mentioned your friend is Marcus, and Pedro is wondering, do you mean Marcus Rashford? Interesting one. I hadn't caught that. I hadn't caught that in the way that Pedri caught that. Then in French League One, Lens are going to be up against Lyon. Monaco will be up against Le Havre. While Nice will be up against Toulouse. Or, like Ugandans love to read it as Toulouse, but it's Toulouse, something like that. Then tomorrow, of course, Super Sunday, I will have Chelsea will be up against Crystal Palace. Can you play FIFA? Me? Oh, guys, the last time I played FIFA was when? 2007, 2008? Jesus Christ. Feels like it was ages ago. By the way, I've never played FIFA with a PlayStation, with a PS. I used to play it with a keyboard, with a keyboard. And it was FIFA 98. So you can imagine how old that is. Shuma says, predict Arsenal's results. We are getting to that. We starting off with Super Sunday. Pedri, why do you want to always be the angel of bad news? Why are you saying 2-1 for Man United versus Arsenal? But anyways, just joking. I understand your prediction. So at 4 p.m. on Super Sunday, Chelsea are going to be up against Crystal Palace. A very, very tricky game. It's a London derby. Crystal Palace are in very, very high spirits after beating up against Liverpool in the Community Shield. Of course, they found out their fate that they will be playing in the UEFA Conference League, which is not very, very good for them. But it is what it is. I think they will give Chelsea a bit of a run for their money. But I have every reason to believe that Chelsea's attack may be a little too good for them. Joao Pedro, Cole Palmer, Pedro Neto, William Estaval, Jamie Gittens, that midfield of Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez will outcompete Crystal Palace, and eventually Chelsea will make it 2-1. My initial instincts had me with a 1-1 draw between these two sides, but the more I look at it, of course, Adam Wharton will compete favorably, and Daichi Kamada in that midfield, but eventually I think Chelsea will get the better of them and win that game by 2-1. Let me see. Ashuma says Arsenal 3-1. That's the prediction. Pedro says Sheshko, Mbeumo, Bruno, Matthias Cunha, Amadou, that this is scary. I mean, by just name profile, that's really, really scary. But whether they can play as a team, I do not expect Benjamin Sesko to start that game. I think he's only had 1 week of training to play with the rest of the team, which doesn't make me feel that he will be really, really ready for that game. He may not start. Maybe he could come off the bench, given that it's a home game. Maybe they would love to give him a couple of minutes as a debutant at Old Trafford. So let's wait and see. You can play FIFA in phone or tablet, iPad. iPad PPS. Well, I'm not so much of a gamer, if I'm being honest. I'm not so much of a gamer. Ashmal says Zubimendi, Rice, Odegaard, Jokeris, Saka, Saliba, Gabriel, Raya, so got it. Yeah. Amorim confirmed Sheshko can start. I mean, what they say in the press is one thing, and what they actually do is another. So, it might, yes, yes, he may be fit to start. He may be fit to start, but whether you will actually select him to start, I'm really not convinced. I mean, anything can happen, but yeah, my anticipation is that he could come off the bench. Ashumai says, predict your semi-finalists for the WC 2026, for the World Cup 2026. Jesus Christ. Shumai, isn't that a little too early? Really? I'd go France, I'd go Argentina, I'd go Portugal, and Brazil. Yep. Agree or disagree. Anyways, the other game are still kicking off at 4 p.m. East African time. Will be between Nottingham Forest and Brentford. And Nottingham Forest have been quite busy in the transfer window, you know, bringing in James McAtee from Manchester City. They want to also sign Rico Lewis from the same side. I think Senegal will reach the semi-finals. They are so good. Okay, that would be quite interesting, because you remember Senegal in 2002 were really impressive. That Senegal side that had Diouf, that had Kamara, that had Jibril Cisse, not Jibril Cisse, that had Cisse. It had who else? You know, a couple of very good players. I predict an African team to reach the semi-finals. Okay, that's beautiful. Idris Gana Gueye is so underrated. Yeah, he did sign a new contract extension with Aston Villa. Then on to the big one, Manchester United up against Arsenal. Okay. According to some sources, Joshua Zirkzee has a knock. Musa Mazraoui has a thigh injury, so do not expect him to start. Aiden Heaven, bit of a 50-50, but he had a thigh issue. Lisandro Martinez, I don't know if he's fit to start. Andre Onana suffered his hamstring, but he was spotted back in training. While on the Arsenal side, it should be only Gabriel Jesus that is expected to miss this game through injury, unless something else happens between now and then. Excuse me. So, I mean, when was the last time Manchester United beat up against Arsenal in the Premier League? You'd have to go back, I think, in the 2022-2023 campaign, when Manchester United beat up against Arsenal by 3-1 at Old Trafford. That game, which had Gabriel Martinelli's goal cancelled out for an offside when it wasn't really offside. For those of you that remember that game. But on the other front, Naib, how are you, my brother? I'm good. Love from India. Thank you so much, Team India. Always a pleasure to see you around. Thank you so much for the love and support. Then, of course, the other defeat came in the FA Cup at I think the fourth one last season on penalties that proceeded a 1-1 draw in normal time. Martin Odegaard missed a penalty in that one. So, on paper, by all counts and measures, Arsenal are the better team, in my opinion. I think without debate on that. But this kind of game is the game that trumps history. It's a game that trumps form. It's the game that trumps who has the better squad or team. Because when it does come on its day, Manchester United put in the shift, Arsenal put in the shift. It's a derby of its own within its own ranks. And I've been constantly telling the rest of the world outside Africa that one of the biggest rivalries in English football is Arsenal versus Manchester United, or vice versa, bigger than Arsenal versus Tottenham Hotspur. That Arsenal versus Tottenham Hotspur rivalry is over there in the UK. Here in Africa, people do not, Arsenal fans do not look at Tottenham as that big a rival because of the size of the club in terms of history and everything. So United gonna win against Arsenal. That's a Naib saying. Okay, what could be your exact prediction? Do you think they win? Do you reckon they win by 2-1, by 3-1? I mean, United are capable of that. In any case, last season they went to the Etihad and beat up against Manchester City by 2-1. So they are capable of posting such a result. United are really, really capable of that. But also, Arsenal have been very, very confident, facing the big five in recent times. They've been very confident facing them. I think in the last 2 years, they've not lost to the big five in the Premier League. That's Tottenham Hotspur, Man United, Manchester City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. So they do fancy their options. It's bound to be a bit of a nail-biting game on both sides. It's bound to be that. So usually, for some reason, against Manchester United, Arsenal struggle by the to win at Old Trafford, and that's why my prediction is a 2-2 draw. For some reason, they struggle to win at Old Trafford. The last time they won at Old Trafford, I think you have to go back to the 2020-2021 Premier League season when they beat up against Manchester United by 0-0. That goal was a penalty awarded by, incredibly, Mike Dean. I think Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang stepped up and scored that goal. So, but when you look back at most of the results that have been at Old Trafford, they've ended in draws, bar that loss that I've mentioned, the 3-1 loss to Arsenal back in the 2022-2023 Premier League campaign. So, in terms of squad expectations, who gets to start and who starts where? Manchester United, I think if Andre Onana is not fit, we may see Altay Baindia in goal. We may see Lenny Yoro. We may see Matthias de Ligt. We may see Luke Shaw. Then we may see Patrick Togu, Amadou Diallo, Bruno Fernandes alongside Casemiro. We may see Matthias Cunha alongside Mason Mount and Brani Bomo. That's my expectation. On the side of Arsenal, we do expect David Raya in goal, William Saliba alongside Gabriel Magalhaes. We do expect Jurriën Timber at right back, at left back. My expectation is Ricardo Carafiori, although he could easily go with Miles Lewis Kelly. At the midfield, Declan Rice alongside Zubi Mendy plus Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, and Victor Gyökeres. Anything other than that would be a surprise. Not a surprise, but would be maybe a departure from our own predictions, but that's how I do expect Arsenal to assemble. I do expect Arsenal to be very, very dominant in that midfield against Manchester United. I do expect Arsenal to try and exploit the back spaces left by Manchester United's wing backs on the side of Patrick Dogu and Amadou Diallo, if he's the one that is started on that side. Yeah, and then of course on the side of Manchester United threat, Bruno Fernandes is always a threat from set pieces, from long range, and things like that. Matthias Cunha and Brani Bomo, what they've shown in a preseason has been average. If we are being honest, has been really, really average. But you never know. It could be the game of the Premier League, given that they are all Premier League proven, that they get to click and things happen for them. Brani Bomo space is a very, very big issue for Arsenal to contend with. So yeah, let's wait and see. But my prediction is a 2-2 draw between Manchester United and Arsenal. That would be what I do go with. So that's my expectation. Then quickly, maybe we get to run through maybe. Then also Liverpool and Bournemouth did agree a deal worth about 25 million euros. Sorry, about 25 million pounds for the transfer of Ben Doak, the youngster. Then this is an exclusive from Fabrizio Romano saying Galatasaray have sent their first official bid to Manchester City for Ederson Moraes. Proposal is in the region of 10 million euros, while City are asking for a higher fee. Gianluigi Donnarumma has already opened doors to City move, and no issue on personal terms. If Ederson leaves, Donnarumma can join Manchester City. I think we did mention that earlier on. So that is an expectation on that side. Then Leon Bailey is not in Aston Villa squad today, as he is set to leave the club. Roma are preparing, are progressing in talks to sign Leon Bailey on loan with a buy option. Clear favorite choice for the player, Roma. I think. By the way, Gian Piero Gasperini is assembling quite the team at AC Roma, and they could be deadly next season. Then Anna Slot was speaking about, Federico Chiesa's future and said when we needed him, he delivered, and that is always a positive for your future at the club. Then also Enzo Maresca was speaking about the future of Nicholas Jackson at, at Chelsea, and there's an expectation that he will leave the club, that Nicholas Jackson will leave the club. To quote him exactly, he did say, Enzo Maresca, Nicholas Jackson, he said, he is training with us, but he is not going to be involved. You know the situation already. The window transfer is open. He can leave, and we will see. That's Enzo Maresca outrightly speaking about Nicholas Jackson. So there's that expectation that Nicholas Jackson will leave. Again, when you have a squad as big as that of Chelsea, oftentimes players are going to be left out of match day squads. Something happens to Man City, to Arsenal, and things like that. Then also, Maresca does insist that they need a new centre back. He said Fofana played 45 minutes in the middle of the three. One of the worst halves are from us. But the Ashili Conference League final, first half, losing 1-0. We changed him with Lomio Lavia, with Levi Colwill, and won 4-1. It's not the same. The one in the middle is so important. Then he also spoke about Canary Chukwemeka. He said he's training with the ones that are waiting for a solution. He's probably going to have a chance to leave. That's Enzo Maresca speaking about Canary Chukwemeka. Borussia Dortmund had another loan proposal with an option to buy for about 15 million euros, which Chelsea essentially turned down. So that's from the side of transfer speculation. Safa Ali, hi to you, my brother. Good morning. How are you doing? It's about 27 minutes past the hour of 11 a.m. Here. It's African time. Then also Kingsley Coman, is officially an Al Nassr player after leaving Bayern Munich for a fee, I believe to be slightly under 30 million euros. So brilliant. Then also quickly, yes, we spoke about Manchester United not planning to proceed with Carlos Baleba move. Nottingham Forest did reach an agreement with Ipswich Town to sign Omari Hudson from Ipswich Town for about £37.5 million. Then also we've spoken about the agreement between Brentford and Bournemouth for Dango Ouattara there. So Bournemouth are replacing him with Ben Doak. In that squad, we've spoken about James McAtee, we've spoken about Jacob Ramsey, we've spoken about that. So quickly, let's go into I'm good and you. I'm also all right. Safa Ali, thanks for asking. Let's get into the latest from the world of transfer gossip and speculation as compiled by BBC Sport. Manchester United will not proceed with the move for Cameroon midfielder Carlos Baleba. We've discussed that. Ederson is considering his future at Manchester City with a move to Galatasaray. Very possible. We've spoken about that. Newcastle ready to proceed quickly to conclude a deal to sign Brentford and their Kong forward, Yohan Wissa, according to Sky Sports, while Newcastle have also renewed their interest in Paris Saint-Germain and Portugal forward Goncalo Ramos. That's according to the Mail. Then Saudi Pro League side Al Nassr are on the verge of completing a 25.8 million deal. We've spoken about that Kingsley Coman deal. Then also Nottingham Forest are keen to sign Rico Lewis for Manchester City. So who are open to letting go of the England international to leave for a fee of about £30 million. That's according to the Mail. Wolves are closing in on signing Verona and Cameroon wingback Jackson there for about 23 years of age. That's according to the Athletic. And then also Sunderland have agreed a deal to sign Paris Saint-Germain and French defender and Nodi Mokeile there, 27 for an initial 9.5 with a 2.5 million pounds add-ons. That's according to Northern Echo. Juventus and Argentine midfielder Nico Gonzalez at 27 is keen on a 30 million euro move to Atletico de Madrid. That's according to Gazette de la Sport. So yeah, that's the latest from the world of transfer gossip. That's our preview for the Premier League ahead. Briefly, we also looked at the Spanish La Liga, and yeah, a lot of action is coming your way this weekend. Of course, there are games in the African Nation Championships that will be going on today. So do expect some fixtures to come your way today from the African Nations Championships. When sorry, when Central African Republic take on Tanzania, while Burkina Faso will be up against Madagascar. On Sunday, DRC Congo will be up against Morocco, while Zambia will take on Kenya. So those are the fixtures. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Thank you so much, Safa Ali, for joining us, although it was a bit late, but we do appreciate you. Thank you so much, Naib. Thank you so much, Shumayo. Thank you so much, Pedri. Thank you so much, Fried Chicken. Thank you so much, Gregory. Thank you so much, my mom. Thank you so much, Florian Witz, there from Chicago, USA. LFC. Thank you so much, and every single one of you. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. It's been a pleasure. Vanin from Russia. Apparently, it's been a pleasure having you on this morning's broadcast. I wish you guys a wonderful rest of the weekend. Do enjoy your action, and we'll be back anytime soon to discuss the latest from the results and what the respective match days will have offered us. Otherwise, stay blessed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye for now.